If you ask someone to describe what a global pop star looks like, they'd probably picture someone like Justin Bieber, Drake, Billie Eilish. Probably not this guy. A bowl cut, oversized 90s sunglasses, ridiculous outfits, and a personality that made it almost impossible to tell when he was joking or when he was being completely serious.
Used to shoot a weapon. Yeah, something bad did happen. I came to this fucking shithole.
What do you gotta say to people who talk shit in the comments about?
All the people saying mean things in the comments. Give me the gun.
To millions of people, Oliver Tree wasn't just a musician. He was a meme, an internet character, someone you'd laugh at before you'd even press play on one of his songs. But while everyone else was busy making fun of him, something strange was happening. The music kept getting bigger, the shows kept selling out, the numbers kept climbing, until somehow, one of the internet's biggest jokes had become one of its biggest artists. So, how did someone who looked like they were designed to fail become one of the most influential artists of the internet era? And was any of it actually an accident? To understand how Oliver Tree became one of the strangest stars on the internet, you first have to understand that the weirdness didn't begin with the bowl cut. Oliver Tree Nickel grew up in Santa Cruz, California, a beach town filled with surfers, street performers, and artists. And creativity wasn't something Oliver had to discover. It was already inside his home. Both of his parents were musicians, and Oliver grew up surrounded by instruments. He began learning music extremely young, and before long, Oliver had moved into the exploding world of dubstep. He started opening major electronic shows and eventually shared a bill in San Francisco with artists including Skrillex, That's Sick, and Nero. For a teenager, it looked like the beginning of a real career. But there was one problem. The people around him wanted Oliver to stop being just a DJ and start producing music of his own. So he did. Except when Oliver sat down to create dubstep, dubstep wasn't what came out. Instead of forcing himself into one genre, he began combining everything he had already tried. The rhythm of hip hop, the textures of electronic music, live instruments, and the strange creative instincts he had developed growing up in Santa Cruz. On his 18th birthday, he launched a new project using his middle name, Tree. And unlike the loud, cartoonish character the world would later meet, this version of Oliver was serious. The music was atmospheric, experimental, and deeply introspective. He built this project alongside a group of artists and friends called Tree Collaborations, who helped create its artwork, photography, and music videos. In early 2013, at just 19 years old, Oliver released the 9-song album Splitting Branches online for free. Later that year, he released the Demons EP through Apollo Records. One of its songs was a reworking of Radiohead's Karma Police, reportedly approved by Tom York himself. For the first time, it seemed like Oliver had found his direction. He had a respected label, he had industry attention, and he had spent nearly his entire life preparing for it. But the version of Tree that existed in 2013 would never become a global superstar. Because Oliver was about to learn something that would change the rest of his career. Making great music wasn't enough. First, he had to make people look. Making people look is easier said than done. So Oliver didn't just release another song. He introduced the world to someone they'd never seen before. Turbo.
But just taking everything that was true about my life, but then overdriving it, you know? So the haircut was the haircut I had my whole life. I was too scared to get any other haircut. The jacket was something I stole from my mom and my dad would wear it in the 80s. Like I have pictures of them skiing with it. So it was almost like a family relic. The pants were the pants I always wanted. The socks and sandals, that's like the shoes that were kind of the most goony shoes. And the glasses were like the little glasses I would wear as a kid that made me feel cool. So it was kind of taking all of the things that really was the most ridiculous versions of myself and kind of just like putting it into one place.
At first glance, it looked completely ridiculous. Almost like Oliver had thrown away everything that had made people take him seriously. But that's not what happened at all. Because Turbo wasn't a fake person. He wasn't a marketing mascot, and he wasn't some random character Oliver invented overnight. In reality, Turbo had been hiding in Oliver's life for years.
Still play a character. I'm just not a character right now. I am a real person. I'm on stage playing for 20,000 people. I'm gonna be a character for sure. I don't really need it to always be one way or the other. There's room for both to exist.
But why? Why take the parts of yourself most people would try to hide and turn them into your entire identity? Because for Oliver, Turbo wasn't about pretending to be someone else. It was about exaggerating the parts of himself most people would have tried to hide. The character embodied the same idea that would later define his debut album, Ugly is Beautiful. Instead of hiding the qualities people might laugh at, he put them front and center. The things that could have made him look ridiculous became the very thing that made him unforgettable. At first, Turbo wasn't a marketing strategy. It was an artistic statement, a way of combining music, comedy, filmmaking, performance, and every strange creative instinct Oliver had into one person. But then, something happened that Oliver couldn't ignore. People started paying more attention to Turbo than they ever had to Tree. And suddenly, the character became something much bigger than he'd ever imagined. People were finally paying attention to Turbo. And once Oliver realized what the character could do, he didn't pull back. He pushed it even further. Because most artists treated promotion as something separate from the art. They made the song, then they promoted it. Oliver did something different. He made the promotion part of the performance. The interviews became performances. Social media became performances. Public appearances became performances. Even the stories surrounding his career became a part of the entertainment. And the secret to making it all work was uncertainty. Nobody could ever be completely sure what was real. One interview would make him seem completely unhinged. The next, he'd quietly reveal something thoughtful and surprisingly genuine. He'd publicly argue with his record label, then turn the entire situation into content.
A record label, let's talk about it. After making tens of millions of dollars over 8 years for Atlantic Records, they no longer want to support my art because I'm not making songs for TikTok. And after dedicating my entire life to making art, I never got into this to make TikTok songs. I know the effects of TikTok. I've had multiple songs that connected there, but that's not why I got into making art. Over the last 2.5 years, I traveled 82 countries and recorded this album on all 7 continents. These are the types of projects that charge me as an artist. This is why I got into it in the first place.
Nothing was ever presented normally. Everything felt just exaggerated enough to make people stop and wonder what they were actually watching.
On my side. Ian, turn off the set. Get out of here! Get off my side!
Because curiosity is one of the most powerful forces on the internet. People don't share things they've completely figured out. They share things that make them ask questions.
I've had a few things. I had this thing called HP pylori, and it's like a illness you get from eating food that has human feces in it, and it was really fucking brutal.
Human feces?
Yeah. So I ate it.
Is this guy serious? Is this real? What am I actually watching? Oliver understood that. Every outrageous interview, every bizarre outfit created another reason for people to keep talking, and every conversation led somewhere. Back to Oliver, back to the music. Oliver wasn't trying to go viral once. He was building a world that people wanted to keep returning to. A world where nobody could ever be completely certain where the performance ended and the real person began. That uncertainty became one of the most powerful tools in his career. Because the internet doesn't reward certainty, it rewards curiosity.
Style points, that's what I'm all about! Oh, dude! My lower L1, L2 lumbar! Somebody get me a water?
And Oliver gave people a reason to stay curious for years. But curiosity can only get someone through the door. It can't make them stay. Because eventually, the character stops being enough. Sooner or later, people press play. And when they did, they discovered something almost nobody expected. Behind all the chaos was an artist who could actually make great music. Because underneath all the absurdity wasn't a comedian trying to make music. It was a musician using comedy. That's an important distinction. Turbo may have changed how people discovered him, but it didn't change why they kept listening. Songs like Alien Boy, Hurt, Miracle Man, and later Life Goes On proved there was far more behind the character than most people expected. On the surface, they sounded bright, energetic, sometimes even chaotic. But underneath, many of them explored loneliness, heartbreak, self-doubt, identity, and the pressure of trying to live up to other people's expectations. It was honest songwriting, hidden behind an intentionally ridiculous exterior. And maybe that's why it resonated with so many people. The character made Oliver impossible to ignore, but the music made him relatable. That's a combination the internet doesn't see very often. The louder the character became, the more people underestimated the artist behind it. And in a strange way, that may have been his biggest advantage. Because while people were busy debating whether Oliver Tree was a joke, millions of people were quietly adding his songs to their playlist. The internet kept talking about the character. The listeners kept coming back for the music. And that's why Oliver Tree's career lasted for longer than most internet phenomenon ever do. If Turbo had only been a gimmick, people would have moved on. If the music had only been good, it may have never reached the audience it deserved. Neither one worked without the other. The character created attention. The music created loyalty. And together, they answered the question we started with. How did someone who looked like they were designed to fail become one of the most influential artists of the internet era? It wasn't because Oliver ignored the rules. It was because he understood which ones no longer mattered. He realized that in the internet age, attention wasn't the enemy of art. It could become part of it. And by combining genuine musicianship, a character rooted in his own identity, and an instinctive understanding of online culture, Oliver Tree built a career that very few artists have ever been able to replicate. Not because people misunderstood him, but because they only ever looked at half of the picture.
Like, I don't present myself serious. I would say I'm probably more serious than like 99% of the artists.
Then, on June 14th, 2026, everything stopped.
When was your last
It's
album?
not a shtick, man. You never know when it's my last album.
I think
I could die any moment. I mean, could have died on the way here.
The music industry is mourning singer Oliver Tree after he was killed in a helicopter crash in Brazil. He was 32.
One thing that I notice in your music videos is this imagery of you falling to your death. Is there anywhere that comes from? Does that represent anything?
I've explored death a lot, especially in the first album. I explored death heavily because I think ultimately that's why people go to religion and a lot of different things. It's like, what happens after life? Bro, this is honestly the best day ever. This is the most fun I've had in years.
Years?
Honestly, I stopped going outside after the accident. Especially because I've lost people in my life when I was younger, and it was pretty heavy duty for me. That was always a big thing of like, well, what happens after life? And almost in a way, preparing myself for my own death.
For someone whose entire career blurred the line between reality and performance, the news almost felt impossible to believe. Fans searched for proof. Others assumed it was another joke, but this time, it wasn't. The internet lost one of its most original artists. But perhaps the most remarkable part of Oliver Tree's story isn't the way it ended. It's the legacy of work he left behind. He showed a generation of artists that attention and authenticity didn't have to compete with each other. That a character could still reveal something real. And that sometimes, the artist everyone underestimated ends up changing the game.
Never listen to what people tell you, because if I listened to every person along the way who said, Oliver Tree, don't do this, Oliver Tree, don't do that, there would be no Oliver Tree and we would not be here tonight.
Feed you to the wolves when you get
I had what's called a rebirth. I died, and I woke up the next day, and I realized I was still alive. Music became my savior, my healing, my religion, and it gave me a second chance to take my addiction and become addicted to something that could actually save me and help other people in that process. Don't let anyone treat you wrong, and definitely don't let anyone stop you from chasing your dream. Life is short, and your energy is precious.